Oil just crossed $111 a barrel. The last time that number appeared on a screen, it was 2008, and the global economy didn't survive what came next. This week, the United States bombed a bridge in Iran, not a military base, not a missile silo, not a weapons depot. A bridge. And what that bridge was actually doing is the part nobody's telling you. The target was the Karaj B1 bridge, located northwest of Tehran. From the outside, it looks like any overpass you would drive across without a second thought. But US and Israeli intelligence had identified it as the primary logistics corridor, the main artery through which Iran was physically moving drones and ballistic missiles to forward launch units actively targeting American and Israeli forces across the region. This was not a symbolic gesture. The US struck it because destroying this bridge meant severing the supply chain keeping those attacks operational. And this is the first time in this entire conflict that America has struck Iranian civilian infrastructure on Iranian soil. Here is what most people miss about modern warfare: you do not always win by destroying weapons. You win by destroying the roads those weapons travel on. Iran has been running a distributed logistics network, moving missiles and drones through civilian corridors specifically to avoid detection. The Karaj B1 was the choke point. Destroy it, and you do not just stop one shipment. You stop every shipment through that corridor and force Iran to reroute through slower, more exposed paths where they can be tracked and targeted. That is not just a military strike. That is a strategic stranglehold on their entire forward attack capability. And Iran knows exactly what just happened. Iran's response went straight for the world's most critical pressure point. Senior officials in Tehran threatened to close the Strait of Hormuz, a waterway between Iran and Oman, only 21 miles wide at its narrowest point, through which 20% of the entire world's oil supply flows every single day. 21 million barrels. Every day. Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, the UAE, all of their exports pass through this single corridor. If Iran closes it, even for 72 hours, the global oil market does not just spike. It seizes. And within minutes of that threat landing on newswires, markets around the world began pricing in the worst-case scenario. Here is where this stops being a foreign policy story and becomes your story. Oil at $111 a barrel does not stay on a trading screen. It flows directly to the gas station on your corner. Analysts are already projecting $5 per gallon averages across the United States within weeks if this conflict escalates. But fuel is just the visible layer. Everything you buy was shipped somewhere. Higher fuel costs hit trucking. Trucking hits food distribution. Food distribution hits your grocery bill. An energy shock of this size does not hit one sector. It cascades through all of them simultaneously. You are already paying for this conflict whether you realize it or not. Brent crude at $111 per barrel is the highest price since 2008. That comparison is not accidental. In 2008, oil peaked at $147 before the financial crisis detonated. We are not at $147 yet, but the trajectory matters as much as the number. When energy prices spike this fast, central banks face an impossible choice: raise interest rates to fight inflation and risk triggering a recession, or hold steady and watch purchasing power collapse in every household. There is no clean exit from that box. Markets are already rattled. Every American, European, and Asian family is now paying what economists call a war tax, an invisible surcharge on daily life imposed by a conflict thousands of miles away that most people could not find on a map. Trump has been explicit: more strikes are coming. His statement after the Karaj B1 strike was a direct warning to Tehran: stop supporting forces targeting US and Israeli troops, or face escalating consequences. That language is not posturing. The market is not pricing in a single bridge strike. It is pricing in a campaign. Iran has not backed down. It has amplified its rhetoric and signaled additional military positioning near the strait. Two powers are now trading direct threats across the world's most critical energy corridor, and the only question anyone in Washington, Tel Aviv, and Tehran is actually asking right now is who blinks first, because nobody has. Not yet. Here is the question no analyst, no general, and no market can answer right now: if Iran follows through on closing the Strait of Hormuz, What does $111 a barrel actually become? Nobody knows. And that uncertainty, that open, unanswered question hanging over 20% of the world's oil supply, is exactly what markets fear most. Not the event. The unknown. The next development in this story will not wait for the evening news. Follow this channel now, because by the time it hits the mainstream headlines, it will already be hitting your wallet.